What is up, guys? It is Carly here, bringing you a DVD slash Blu-ray slash book slash VHS slash some other random crap update here. Yes, it's been a while since I've done an update, and that's simply due to the fact that I really don't buy too much around the holidays for myself. I try to kind of let my watch stack lower down and, focus on buying Christmas presents and all that fun stuff for other people. So, I just don't buy as much or receive as much or anything like that. So, no really any reason to do an update video, but I did get quite a bit of stuff for Christmas, and I did buy some stuff as well recently. So, figured it was time to do that update because it's actually pretty massive. And when I say massive, I'm mainly talking about the DVDs here because I got a lot of DVDs for Christmas. I also have some VHS, Blu-ray, and as I said, some other random little horror-related items going on here that I figured I would show off as well. So, without further ado, I'm just going to get right into this so it is not too horribly long. And to start off, we have this Jaws cup here. JP got me this for Christmas, and Jaws has honestly become one of my favorites horror movies. I would say it's probably in my top 10 at this point, and probably mainly due to the fact that I saw it twice in theaters the past 2 years, and it just made me fall more and more in love with it. I love the setting mainly. That's a big thing for me, and the characters that you follow in that movie I just think are all fantastic and work really well together. But anyway, yeah, he got me this Jaws cup, and this is actually really convenient to bring to work because, it has a straw so you're not spilling stuff all over the place. And I have the ice cubes in the freezer, but it's one of those cups that comes with those ice cubes that are just like little plastic cubes that are filled with water, and you just freeze them kind of like mini ice packs. So I really like that about it. They're kind of a pain in the ass to clean out, if I'm being completely honest, with the straw and everything, but other than that, it's pretty cool, and like I said, something cool to bring to work, and it is one of my favorite horror movies. So that is pretty sweet. After that, we have another drinking device, I guess you could say, and that is this shot glass. Once again, JP got me this, and obviously I'm a big Halloween fan. This is something else I guess I picked up, was this Halloween shirt. Picked this up myself recently because I realized I didn't have any horror shirts, but I also got a Halloween 2 shirt, but that's actually being washed right now. But anyway, back to the shot glass. I don't really take shots or anything like that, honestly, especially not home alone by myself. That's just not something I'm into, but I think shot glasses are pretty cool. They're pretty cool collectible pieces to kind of just sit on a shelf, and that is where I keep this. I keep it displayed, I don't keep it in my drawers or cabinets or whatever you want to call it like that. I think it's just a cool little decoration to have sitting out, especially since I do love horror and I do love Halloween. Of course, it says "Terror Never Rest in Peace" on the other side here, and this is, I believe, the Halloween 6 cover arts. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I said, shot glasses, cool to collect. Is it something that I would start collecting? Probably not just for the sake of space, but you can find some cool ones out there. So if I do find other horror-related ones, I would probably pick them up. After that, guys, we have a video game. Yes, we have Resident Evil Biohazard. I believe this is part 7 here, and honestly, I've never played any of the Resident Evil games. I'm actually not really big into playing video games at all. I would not classify myself as a gamer or anything like that. I don't even really know. I've never played online, which I know is the new thing to do, is to play online with other people, and that's not something that I've really dived into, but I recently got an Xbox One, so I guess I will have to try to get on that. But anyway, yeah, Resident Evil, this is a game that I have started to play, and I do really enjoy. It's pretty fun, and the, the graphics and just the design of the game is pretty well done from what I can see so far, so it's definitely a fun one. Like I said, this is a horror game, and honestly, I get scared very easily when I'm playing video games. I'm one of those people who has to watch YouTube videos of other people playing horror-related video games before I can feel okay. That's just kind of how I am as a person, but this isn't too over the top, at least so far, so I think I can handle it, and like I said, I'm having a pretty good time going through the story so far, so yeah, video games, probably something that I'll try to get back into now that I have the new Xbox. After that, we are going to get into some VHS. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of VHS here. These are actually there's just 4 here, I believe, that JP actually got me, and that's it. But first up, we have Lake Placid. This is a film that I have heard many people talk about before, of course, but it's one that I've just never watched. It never seemed like something that I would necessarily enjoy, but I don't know. I probably will like this one just because a lot of people say it's pretty good, and I'm starting to come around on these sort of, I guess, monster-ish creature. Not really creature, but what is this, about an alligator or something, I think. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now, but you know, these types of movies, I've come around on them a little bit. They're just not my favorites when it comes to the horror genre. They're definitely lower on the totem pole, but of course, I will check this out because I do check out everything I get, so that's pretty cool. It's in good condition as well. After that, we have a movie I've never even heard of, and that is Volcano. I believe JP said he has heard of this, but I don't think that he said he's watched it. Obviously, this is some sort of disaster type of film. Seems like it could be possibly a little more action-y, just based on what I'm reading on the back and things like that. Seems interesting, especially since it's one, like I said, I've never really heard of. I don't know if I like it or not, honestly. I can't really give a full opinion on it, because I know nothing about it. But, pretty cool thing that he found. I think he probably got this at Goodwill, so just a cool little obscure thing to find. And it came out in 1997, which is the year I was born, oddly enough, so that's pretty interesting as well. After that, we have Python. Yes, yet again, another one of these types of movies that I've definitely heard things about, but never bothered to check out. I see Robert Englund's actually in this film, which I don't think I actually knew that, but that's pretty cool. This is sealed. This looks like it might have been resealed, though, but in good condition either way. Seems like pretty cool film, honestly. Once again, who knows if I'll actually like this or not. Like I said, these aren't my favorite types of movies, but who knows? I'll have to check it out and get back to you guys on that. After that, we have Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher, I actually, oddly enough, read the book to this back in probably my sophomore year of high school, so when I was like 15 or 16, so that was a good bit of years ago at this point, and I don't remember it a whole lot. I remember thinking it was pretty interesting, but I also think I got a little bit bored in some parts of it, so the movie I've heard mixed opinions on, and I'm actually pretty curious about this one to see if it just jogs my memory a little bit on how the book was, and to see if I actually like it or not, because like I said, I thought the book was pretty alright for what it was, but there were some moments where I just wasn't all that into it, so I'll have to definitely see if I enjoy the movie or not. Probably the most, out of the VHS I have here, this is the one that I'm most curious about checking out. Alright guys, now we are getting into a few books that I picked up once again. Yes, I picked up more books. One of my resolutions, I guess you can say, I hate making those, I think they're pretty gay, but I guess one of my things for this year is to actually start reading more of the books that I have picked up, because I have way too many, but I just can't stop collecting them, especially the ones I have here, because I feel like they just look cool on a shelf to have them all, and I used to have them when I was a kid and kind of regret getting rid of the ones I have, but the ones I bought here are actually ones that I have had in the past, so I thought it was pretty cool to pick them up, and that is Goosebumps, of course. Once again, yes, Say Cheese and Die. This was one of my favorites, I remember when I was a kid, and I always liked the cover art you have going on here. That's kind of what piqued my interest in reading this one specifically. Yeah, I just remember really liking this one. I believe it was about some kid gets a camera, and then, you know, it's obviously weird stuff starts to happen here, but I thought this was a pretty cool one to find, and I couldn't resist grabbing it. You know, Goodwill, they're not that expensive. They're like $1, so can't go wrong. After that, we have The Haunted Mask. Of course, this is a classic here. Everyone knows this story. If you're not familiar with Goosebumps, you're always going to be familiar with this story, I feel. Not everyone maybe read it, but even if you don't read it, there, of course, was the TV series, and this was even one of the most popular episodes that they did here. Of course, this is the newer cover art that they released, which, you know, I prefer to get the older cover art just for nostalgia purposes, and I think it's cooler to find that out in the wild, but I did like this cover art because, honestly, it kind of reminds me of the Halloween 3 cover art, and oddly enough, I'm not a big fan of Halloween 3, but I've always just liked that cover with the kids trick-or-treating and just the silhouettes and the sort of reddish background. That's kind of what you have going on here, and what can I say? It's the Haunted Mask. Had to grab it either way. Then lastly, for the books, guys, we have the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. This is another one that I read as a kid. I remember my grandma, actually, I think, picked these up. She was really big into going to, like, garage sales and yard sales and things like that, and I want to say she picked this up at a yard sale, and she gave it to, she got this one as well as some other Goosebumps, I believe, and gave them to me and my cousin, and this is one that I remember mostly because I think it was probably one of the only ones I read, and don't remember this story a whole lot, but I just had to grab it for, once again, the memories that I have tied into it. This is one, of course, that I owned and gave away, so had to grab it. Honestly, the Goodwill had a lot more Goosebump books. I actually went with JP, and we kind of divided up the ones that we wanted and left some behind, which, you know, the past year, that's something that I wasn't doing. I was just going crazy, and if I would find Goosebumps or Fear Street or just anything, I would buy all of them. I felt like I just had to have them all, but I'm trying to tone that down a little bit. I just passed on some of the lesser-known ones and just grabbed these 3 because they're, I'd say, 3 of the more better-known ones in the classics, so gonna tone it down there until I start actually reading them. Alright, now we're gonna get into the Blu-ray section here. Once again, not a whole lot of Blu-rays, but still a little bit here. We have, first up, The Devil's Backbone. This is a Guillermo del Toro movie. I can't say things, you guys know that by now. But I honestly am not a huge fan of his films. I think he has stunning imagery and things like that, and just, I'm a fan of the style, I guess, of filmmaking, but the stories and things like that, just based on the few movies that I've seen him done, I'm just not overly into, so I'm not sure if I like this one too much or not. A lot of his movies really are just borderline horror, in my opinion, as well, so, I feel like this one is more horror, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like I've heard people say this one is more along the lines of horror than some of his other stories, so I might like this, and I do dig the cover here and the case it comes in. This is an Umbrella release, and this is another movie that JP got me, so I am curious on this one just to see if I do like it or not. After that, we have a movie called Carnots. This one came out a few years ago, I believe, and I actually watched this one. This was the first thing that I watched, you know, after when I took a break from watching 2018 movies. I decided, why not pop this one in, and I had never seen this before, and honestly, I thought it was alright. I feel like I've heard people talk highly of this one. I could be wrong, though, but I just kind of thought it was alright. It definitely kind of suffered for being PG-13, in my opinion. I'm starting to notice that more and more nowadays, that I could definitely decipher a PG-13 film from an R-rated movie. I could definitely see how it's more tame and held back and just kind of a little bit more cookie cutter than an R-rated movie allows a film to be, and with this movie it just kind of showed a little bit more for me than I would like it to. I didn't think it was overly creepy or anything like that, is kind of what I'm getting at. So I thought the story was decent, it was alright. I believe I gave this like a 7 out of 10. You know, it was alright, it wasn't a bad film, but just wasn't as great as I was really expecting. After that, we have Silent House. You guys, if you watch my videos, you've probably seen me hold this one up in a horror pack unboxing back in the day when I got horror pack, because, of course, I got this in an unboxing, or, you know, in a horror pack, and this is the one repeat that JP accidentally got me. Miraculously, that's cool that that's the only thing that was a repeat, but because he did that, he did not have Silent House, so I passed my horror pack one on to him, and it was still like I got a gift from him, and he kind of got the movie as a gift from me, so it worked out well, and of course this is sealed, and it will probably, you know, just remain sealed on my shelf for a while, because I just watched this movie last year, right around the time when I got it, and this is another one. I only gave it a 7 out of 10, I believe. I thought it was just alright. It is rated R and everything, but I just thought it was alright. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was an okay movie. Then after that, we have another one that I watched recently, and that is Curse of Chucky here. Yeah, Curse of Chucky. This is one that I kept neglecting to pick up. I see it all the time in, like, cash and cultures around me and other stores and whatnot, but I just always pass on it for whatever reason. I guess it's because it was on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix for so long, and that's kind of where I would go back and watch it if I really wanted to. I find whenever a popular movie's on Netflix and it's a movie that I do rewatch maybe from time to time, I don't feel like popping in a disc anyway, so that's kind of why I just put off picking this one up. And but I'm glad that JP did get it for me because I do like to complete my franchise collections. I don't have Call of Chucky and I don't have Child's Play 3, oddly enough. That's actually one that I really want to grab, but I never see it in stores, and I don't really order movies a whole lot anymore. I think it's funner to just go out and hunt for them, but, yeah, Child's Play 3, that's one I definitely still need, because I haven't watched that one in a while, but anyway, I rewatched this one recently, and every time I watch it, you know, when I first saw it, honestly, this movie really, when I started getting back into horror, I was just browsing through Netflix one night, and, almost peed myself when I saw this movie on Netflix because I was like, oh my god, they released a new Child's Play film. To me, that was equivalent to if they were to, sorry guys, the camera just got a little out of focus there, but, to me that was like equivalent to if they were to, release a new Halloween or Friday the 13th and just put it on streaming and be really sneaky about it. I know Child's Play isn't nearly, as popular as those franchises, but it really just shocked me at the time, and I really was surprised by how much I enjoyed the film. Upon several rewatches, I'm more just lukewarm on it now. I really hate the tie-in that you get in this film. I'm not going to completely give it away, but first I thought it was genius, and now I just think it's very forced, and honestly kind of takes away from the character a little bit. So, like I said, I don't want to go too into it if for some reason you haven't seen this film, but either way, still a cool one to have in the collection. I still think it's an entertaining movie, so, you know, pretty cool to get for the collection. After that, we have Scream, this multi-pack here. I feel like I've talked about this one multiple times, but that's mainly due to the fact that I reviewed the Scream movies on my 31 Days of Horror, and I did reference this multiple times, but didn't actually show it off in an update video, I don't believe. But I did get this from the Woodsboro Bros. I won it because I guess their top 30 slashers, I believe, almost correctly, or the closest to being correct. They kind of had a little contest there, and I was the closest with both of them. So, of course, Austin and Andrew, they live by me, so they passed this on to me, and it was a cool thing to win, honestly, because I do love the Scream movies, and I did want to revisit the Part 2 and Part 3. It doesn't have Part 4 in it, but it does have like a little inside story that I actually haven't checked out yet. I'm not really big on special features, honestly. I just like movies, but yeah, I did rewatch these, and it's just pretty cool to have. Like I said, I do like the films. I definitely prefer Part 1 over anything. That's the one that I go back to the most, but pretty awesome thing to have. Then lastly, for the Blu-rays here, guys, we have Halloween, Halloween 2, the Scream Factory Edition. Yes, my Halloween 2 DVD has seen better days. I've had it since I was a kid. I don't remember, I remember my mom buying me this probably when I was 8 or 9 or somewhere around that age. She bought me the Halloween films, and I had that DVD for a while, and of course I didn't take care of stuff as well back then, so it's very scratched up at this point, and when I watch the movie, it's very skippy in some parts, and I could just feel like it's probably not going to have many rewatches, and I do love Halloween too, so Austin was nice enough to get me this for Christmas, and it's an awesome gift because Scream Factories, for one thing, my collection's getting pretty decent, honestly, not huge or anything like that, but I'm pretty satisfied with how big I have gotten it, since I'm not really big into collecting these brands or special editions or anything like that. I'm pretty satisfied with how big that has gotten at this point, and this is just another thing to add to it. And Halloween 2, like I said, one of my favorites, definitely, and just nice to finally have a replacement for that crappy DVD I have. So thank you to Austin for this. That is pretty awesome. Alright, now we're going to get into the DVDs. I'm actually going to attempt to move this pile here over here. Hold on, guys. Alright. I did not plan that out well, obviously, so sorry about that. But, yeah, we have a giant stack of DVDs here to get into. It's kind of a tower, honestly. It's pretty good, but yeah, I'm just gonna get right into this because this video is already like 20 minutes long. And first up here we have Mystery Science Theater Mad Monster. This is something that I saw at Big Lots, actually, oddly enough, a few months ago, and I thought it was pretty cool to see something like that at Big Lots, and JP actually surprised me and ended up picking it up for me, which is pretty cool because I've only seen 2 episodes of Mystery Science Theater. It's not something I grew up on or really watched or knew about until recent time when the new series came out on Netflix and everything like that. So, and honestly, I was pretty into it. I thought it was a pretty cool idea for a series, but I just never went back to it because, you know, it's, you're actually watching a movie. These aren't like short episodes. You're watching these guys do a commentary on these bad, monster, sci-fi type of films, so not something I really ran back to, but I thought this was just cool to find one of these on DVD, especially somewhere like Big Lots. You know, sometimes Big Lots has some surprising, interesting titles, so to be honest, I actually popped this in last night and fell asleep instantly while watching it, and I feel like these are kind of good to honestly pop in when you're ready for bed and you just want to throw something on, but I do want to actually check this out and see if I like it or not because, you know, I just think this whole series was a pretty interesting concept. So I would like to go back to this one. I probably will tonight. Hopefully I don't fall asleep again. But cool thing just to have for the collection. After that, we have Cube Zero. I believe this is the 3rd Cube movie, but I think it's actually a prequel to the first movie. So, you know, it's the 3rd one to come out, but it's supposed to be a prequel, and I love Cube. I think the first Cube is just genius for what it is and for the time period it came out. It came out, I believe, in 1997 as well, the year I was born, and that was a horrible time for horror movies, as everyone already knows, so I thought the Cube was a pretty solid film to come out for that time period, and the concept is just great, and it's so well done with the characters and, you know, the little things they have to work with. They really make it work, and I've never seen Cube 2. I hear it's atrocious, sort of made for sci-fi type of film, very low budget and crappy, but Cube Zero, I hear, is not as bad, so I'm very curious to check this out and see what my opinion will be on it, because, as I said, I've only ever seen the first one. I never really bothered with the sequels due to the fact that I hear they're very inferior to the first one, but once again, this was gifted to me, so of course I will definitely check this one out. After that, we have Critters, a movie that I just saw for the first time at a drive-in last year in April. It was one of the featured films at the all-night drive-in that JP, me, our friend Matt, and whoever else like to go to every single April and September. They were doing sort of a creature feature type of theme. They played this as well as alligators, as well as 2 other films that the titles are kind of escaping me right now, but Critters, yeah, I thought this was a pretty fun movie. I feel like I need to pay a little more attention because it's actually pretty hard for me to pay attention at the drive-in, honestly. We're all talking and having a good time, and then sometimes it rains, so feel like I need to pay a little more attention, but from what I watched, I actually thought this was a pretty enjoyable little creature feature. As I've said, I'm not a huge fan of creature movies, but I have come around on them. It was actually that drive-in that did make me come around more on these types of monsters / creatures / killer animal, all those types of films. So I'm I'm definitely interested in revisiting this one. After that, we have Critters Part 2. Can't really say much on this because I've only ever seen Critters Part 1, and that was recently, but JP tells me Critters 2 is actually pretty solid as well, so I'm excited to get into this one as well. Then, guys, of course, we have Critters 3. Yes, this is another one that JP said is actually pretty on par with the other two, which is surprising. You would think, like, especially with movies like these, that they would kind of fall off after a while, but he says they're actually this one's actually pretty well done as well, so we shall see. Looks like Leonardo DiCaprio is in this, which is surprising. That's another thing I did not realize, so that is pretty cool. Then after that, we have Critters 4 here. Yes, JP actually gave me all these from his collection, I believe, because he got an upgraded collection on these, and he says that Critters 4 is not the greatest. This is kind of where it all falls off. Oh god, this is in space. Another thing I didn't even realize, even though the cover is clearly in space. But yeah, I'll probably actually hate this, because I do hate space movies. So, not looking forward to this one, guys, but still awesome of him to give me all these movies. I think they'll look good on the shelf together, too. I like the covers, so, except for this one, because it is in space, and I do hate space, but there is that. After that, we have Rest Stop 1 and 2 here. These are, believe these were sci-fi movies, if I'm not mistaken. It's either that or Chiller, but either way, the first time I ever saw Rest Stop was on one of those horror-related networks on TV, and I miss those days of kind of just flipping through the channels and finding horror movies to watch, because nowadays I never use my cable. I have basic cable, but I don't use it at all, literally at all. All I watch is movies or Netflix or any type of streaming, and that's about it. So, I'm not really into doing that anymore. But anyway, Rest Stop is a movie that I came across probably when I was in middle school, I want to say, and I was actually pretty surprised by it. I thought it was a pretty disturbing and brutal type of film from what I remember, and I thought it was going to be complete trash even at that age, but I actually liked it back then, so I'm very curious to recheck it out and see if it still holds up for being what it is, of course. Like I said, I think it's, I want to say it's made for TV. I might be completely wrong on that, but, you know, it kind of had that feel to it, but Part 2 I have never seen, so I hear that one's alright as well, so I'm very curious to check that one out as well. After that, we have I Saw What You Did. Once again, JP picked this up for me, and I had heard about this one before, but I didn't really know what the plot was all about, and he kind of described it to me, and seems like something, honestly, I would probably be pretty into. This, of course, is an older black and white film you got here, but I don't mind that. I think that this sounds like something that would definitely be up my alley. This is from the year 1965, it looks like, so very curious on this one as well. Like I said, I don't really know much about it, but upon hearing the plot, seems like something that I would really enjoy. After that, we have The Woman in Black Part 2. I actually don't own The Woman in Black Part 1, oddly enough, but I have seen it before, and I've seen it multiple times before, and it is a slower burn film, and I can see why a lot of people don't like it, but once you get into the second half of the film, I believe it gets pretty creepy, and I actually do enjoy it. That's talking about Part 1, of course. Part 2 I've never seen, and I've always been kind of curious on it, but not curious enough to really seek it out. So I am glad that he picked this one up for me as well, because I do want to see what it's all about. I know it's following different characters and kind of a different storyline here, but that's about all I know about it. I would like to check it out, because I don't really know that I've ever heard anyone really give any opinions on whether this is good or bad. It kind of just sort of fell under the radar a little bit, at least from what my perspective. So, really interested in checking this out as well. After that, we have Dark Water. This is, of course, the original Dark Water. It's not the American one with, I believe, Jennifer Connelly, which I have seen that movie back in the day. That's another one that came out around when I was a young child, and I did watch it back then, but I've never seen this one, and I am curious on this because I know some people seem to like this one from what I understand, so very curious on this. Like I said, I don't own the other Dark Water. I've just seen it when I was a kid, and that's about it, so it's been a while. I couldn't really compare it to this, but I'm still curious to see what this is all about. After that, we have Snow White. It's a triple feature here. We have Snow White, we have Darkman 2, and we have Firestarter 2, and JP got me this mainly for Snow White, I guess. This is, of course, the horror type of version of Snow White that I've actually always been kind of interested in. Just, it seems like a kind of creepy concept to me, but something I kind of forgot about until, of course, he got it for me, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this being a thing. Never seen it, but I've always been interested in it. Darkman 2 doesn't seem like something that I would really like, but we will have to see. Firestarter 2 I didn't even know existed, so we'll definitely have to see on that one as well. It looks like it potentially is trash, but we shall see. I can't really give an honest opinion on that. I do, I like the first Firestarter. It's been forever since I've seen that. That's a movie I often forget about. I don't own that one, but I thought it was alright, so I am kind of curious on part 2, but Darkman 2, probably the one I'm least interested in this random-ass triple feature we have here. After that, we have Itchy the Killer. This is a movie that I've heard millions of people talk about at this point, and I know it's very well known for being just crazy and kind of a brutal film. Of course, it's a Takashi Miike, however you say his name, movie, and one that I've always took interest in, but just never really, I don't know, I just never really got around to watching it, I guess, because I hear it's very bloody, and I don't know, it just seems like it would be a little too over the top for me almost, but at this point, I guess, I can really watch anything. Nothing really phases me as much anymore, so I am glad to finally have this, because it does give me an excuse to finally watch it and see how I truly feel about it. After that, we have Pulse. This is, of course, the original Pulse here, and I do have the remake. I forgot that I have the American remake to this film. Shows how much I paid attention to that movie. I don't remember it much at all, but I do have it in the collection, so it is cool to have this one to put beside it, and I hear this is better than that one, so I will definitely be interested in checking this out, and maybe giving the remake a rewatch, because it is well deserved. I don't think I really paid close enough attention to that movie, so we will see. We will see. After that, we have Real Monsters Season 1, as well as Real Monsters Season 2. Yes, TV series that I'm actually not too familiar with. Of course, it's a Nickelodeon series, and, it's about monsters, so of course I had to include it in the horror section here, even though it's more like a childish type of spook, I guess you could say, but yeah, I've never really watched this show, so I'm definitely going to be checking these out. This is, once again, something that's cool to kind of put on late at night and fall asleep to if you're not really into watching a movie, so I am glad to have some TV series to add to my collection, because I really don't have a lot. After that, we have Idle Hands. I actually just watched this movie for the first time this past October with JP, because he had to do it on his show, so we checked it out together, and I really loved this movie. I thought it had a great, late 90s / early 2000s vibe. This came out in 99, I believe, and very much almost reminds me of the American Pie / Road Trip type of films, but like a horror version of that, if that makes any sense at all. It just kind of has that vibe, and obviously it's a horror comedy, and it more rides along the comedy aspect than anything. It feels very much like a teen stoner movie more than horror, but it's an excellent movie. I thought it was a really fun time, definitely one that I'm glad to have in the collection now. Next up, we have Hell. This is another one that I know JP must have got at Big Lots, because I always see this one at Big Lots, and I always am a little bit curious on it based on the title and just the cover. I know it's kind of a survival type of film, and I've mentioned before that I'm not too into those types of movies either, so that's kind of why I always passed on it. But once again, I'm glad he got it for me, because it gives me an excuse to sit my butt down and actually watch a movie like this where I would otherwise keep passing on it. So definitely interested in this one as well. Alright, and then I believe that does it for the stuff that JP got me. Next up, we have Little Shop of Horrors here. It's a remake, I believe, and I actually got this from my manager slash friend from work. You know, they like to get, and I'm talking about the hotel. I still work there from time to time, and every Christmas, they like to get everyone who works there a little gift to just show thanks for, you know, being an employee there and doing a good job. So, this is what he decided to get me, because he knows I love horror, and this is actually something that I've never seen before. I never really took much interest, because I know it's kind of I believe this is a musical, and, you know, there's a Broadway musical, and I've seen that a lot of schools usually do this musical, but I've just never been interested in it, because I really don't like musicals or anything like that. But it's one that I feel I probably should get on watching, because I feel like everyone in the world has at least seen some variation of this film or the actual musical. So, definitely one that I will be interested to see what my actual opinions are on it. After that, we have some movies that Austin passed on to me, and first up we have The Beyond here. This is one that I always wanted to watch. Italian movie, Fulci movie. I'm not too into Italian movies, I've come to find. I've tried to give a lot of them a chance, and I just can't get into them, but this is a more well-known one that I've always wanted to check out, so I am glad that he passed this on to me, and I will be checking it out sooner than later, because I hear so many good things about it. After that, we have a movie that I actually have seen before, and that is The New York Ripper. This is a movie that I watched with JP probably a year or two ago, because I believe he had to do it on his podcast for probably Italian Horror Month, I would assume, and can't really remember exactly, but yeah, New York Ripper. I actually enjoyed this movie. I thought it was alright, pretty solid. I enjoyed it for what it was, so I do want to rewatch it and see if I still feel that same way. But from what I remember, I liked it. After that, we have City of the Living Dead, another one that I've never seen before, but have always wanted to check out, because once again, I know it's a more well-known movie, and everyone seems to like it. I really don't like zombie movies, and that's kind of why I've always passed on this one, but, you know, I definitely do have to get on watching this, and as well as some other classics that everyone knows about, just for the sake of watching them and being able to give my opinions on them. Next up, we have Urban Legend 1, 2, and 3 in this little multi-pack. Yes, I believe Austin picked up the, I think Scream Factory or Arrow or someone released, you know, a special edition of all these movies, and he picked that up, so he passed this on to me, and I'm glad he did, because these are movies that I grew up with. Nostalgia purposes, once again, these are, you know, late 90s / early 2000s films that, like I said, I grew up on and enjoyed back then, and I still enjoy them now, except for Part 3, that's kind of trash, but, Part 1 and Part 2, I think, are pretty solid, fun slasher movies. The acting's a little iffy in them, and they're a little bit, basic movies, but, I like the concept of, an urban legend type of killer, so, I've always really enjoyed them, and I'm happy to have all 3 of them, even though I don't like Part 3. After that, and lastly, guys, we have just some random movies that I picked up for myself here, and first up we have Patrick Still Lives. Now, this is one that I picked up for the Halloween marathon that you guys know nothing about because JP never uploads the actual videos, but we did our second annual Halloween marathon over at our friend Matt's this year, and idea of that is we each pick a film that we find will be obscure as well as something that is decent and something that no one else has seen before, including yourself. So that's kind of the challenge there, because we're all really into horror movies and we've all seen quite a bit. Me probably seeing the least, honestly, but either way, that's the point of the challenge. So I heard about this on the Not Quite Hollywood Ausploitation. I forget what it's called exactly, but I believe Tarantino brings it up whenever talking about Patrick, which is an Australian film, and this is literally just an Italian rip-off sequel that tries to cash in as a sequel to Patrick, hence the title here, and it's not at all. It's a very sleazy movie. There's a ton of boobs for the sake of being boobs in the film, and if anything, it was just entertaining to watch and kind of comical to watch with a group. Not a good movie, but still a cool, obscure one to have in the collection. After that, we have Homecoming, a Masters of Horror here. Yes, I'm still trying to collect all of these, and I'm actually almost done, honestly, but there's still a bit from the second season, and I believe probably like one more from the first season that I still have to pick up, and this is one that I hear is not here, I actually watched it for myself, but I've heard people say it's probably one of the weaker ones, and I would agree, it's not that great, but I didn't think it was too bad either. It was at least entertaining, but definitely one of the weaker ones, at least from that first season alone, but have to pick them all up, of course. After that, we have Fido. Of course, this is a zombie movie, and I'm not into zombie movies, but this isn't your traditional zombie film. It's a zombie comedy, and it's not like a bunch of zombies running at you trying to kill you. It's about these people kind of taking zombies as their, like, slaves almost, or their house pets, or friends, whatever you want to call it. It's however they really treat them, honestly, and I thought this was pretty solid. It was more of a lighthearted comedy type of feel to it, and I really enjoyed it. I watched it late at night one night, and I had a fun time with it. Definitely one that I would rewatch in the future. After that, we have Mom and Dad. I picked this one up off of Second Spin. I was buying someone else a Christmas gift, and I figured I would kill two birds with one stone and pick up a 2018 film that I had not seen, and this was really cheap, and honestly the disc was a little bit skippy, which is unfortunate, but it is used, and it was probably like $2, so what can you do there? But I was actually kind of disappointed with this. I didn't love it as much as I was expecting. In my head, I thought it might be in my top 10 based on the plot. It seemed like something I would really like, but I just wasn't overly thrilled with it. It was alright. It was good, honestly, but it just wasn't really for me. After that, we have Children of the Corn, the, TV movie remake here. I did not own this, and I was at a Salvation Army the other day, and, decided to look at their movie selection. They usually don't have anything I want there, but oddly enough, they had a few titles, and I figured why not just pick them up. Obviously it was, $2.99, so why not? Like I said, I didn't have this one, and that kind of helps build my Children of the Corn collection, because there's a lot of those that I still need to pick up, so, I remember enjoying this movie for what it was. It's been a long time since I watched it, though, but, I'd be curious to rewatch it now and see how I feel. After that, we have the Blair Thumb. Yes, this is, I don't know what this is, honestly. I know these Thumb movies apparently are pretty popular. I posted this in, on Instagram and Facebook, and I had a few people comment saying, like, oh my god, I have all the Thumb movies, they're awesome, and, yeah, I was surprised. I'm not really familiar with these, but once again, I found this at that same Salvation Army, and I was, like, kind of shocked. I was like, wow, that's actually something kind of cool and obscure for being at a crappy Salvation Army store, and I noticed this only runs 29 minutes, so it's not necessarily a film, but I believe it's just a parody of Blair Witch Project with thumbs. So I'm actually really excited to check this out and see how I feel about it. It might be completely unfunny and disappointing to me, knowing my sense of humor, but I just thought it was cool to pick up, and I couldn't resist. Lastly, guys, before I die of not having any water, I should probably have gotten some water before making this video because it's probably one of my longest, and my throat is getting sore here, but we have Courage the Cowardly Dog here, the complete series, all 52 episodes. Yes, I had to pick this up when I saw it at Walmart. This is something that I always wished that I could have on DVD, just the entire series. I know they put out a lot of Cartoon Network shows, like multi-packs, like with Johnny Bravo, Courage, Dexter, Scooby-Doo, all that stuff, but I always just wanted plain old Courage because, for one thing, it would fit well into my horror collection for being a kind of horror kids cartoon show, and another thing, it was one of my favorites growing up on Cartoon Network. I was definitely a Cartoon Network type of kid, so something I've always really enjoyed, and I've been having a blast just popping these on at night. Once again, something to fall asleep to watch before bed when I don't feel like watching a movie and paying close attention, and just for those childhood memories in itself, this is awesome to have. I believe this was like $30 or something expensive like that, and I had no business buying it when I bought it because I was pretty poor at the time and complaining about money, but I saw it and I had to grab it, and I don't regret it. So there's that, and that'll do it, guys. Thank you for those who stuck around for this very long update. Holy crap, we're already at like 45 minutes here, 46 minutes, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed though, guys, and that'll do it. I would say more, but like I said, my throat is killing me now, so thank you for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you for the next one.